Good evening, board members and members of the community. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. My name is Jessica Mokata, and I am the head counselor at Daniel High School. I'm here to propose an anti-bullying program for the school, and most importantly, to provide you with some important facts, data, and information about bullying that pertains specifically to our school. Our goals for Daniel High School is to be a nurturing and safe environment for all students, a place in which students develop positive self-image and self-control. We expect all members of our school community to treat each other with respect for differences, and with understanding that all students should be treated equally. Preventing and stopping bullying involves a commitment to creating a safe environment where children can thrive socially and academically without being afraid. That is why my coworkers and I are here with this presentation. The first slide I want to introduce is Assembly Bill 9, which is Seth Law. On July 1st, 2012, the California Assembly Education Committee passed Seth Law. It was named after Seth Walsh, a 13-year-old student who took his life in 2010 after facing years of bullying at school. The bill addresses school bullying prevention in California schools. These include implementation and updates a specific anti-bullying policy that defines what behavior is prohibited. Schools must identify and implement a detailed process for receiving and investigating complaints of bullying. Also, all staff is required to intervene if they witness bullying. It includes the school having to post anti-bullying policy and the complaint process in all schools and offices, including staff lounges and student government rooms. The policy and complaint process forms must also be translated if needed. For example, our school has a high population of ESL students, so the complaint forms and the policy should be translated. And then also, we must post resources for bullying victims both on campus and the school district website. And all of these education codes will be given to you all on a handout at the end of my presentation, so you can read into them further. Here I have 3 really interesting TED Talks. I felt that it was important to post these videos. The first video is just a video explaining what bullying is. It goes in depth and it's a very interesting video to see. The second video is a video featuring a boy named Shane, and forgive me for not pronouncing his last name right, Kozekskin, who talks about his own experiences being bullied, and he also talks about what it's like to be young and different. The third video is from a different perspective. It's by a poet and a teacher named Clint Smith, and he talks about finding the courage to speak up against ignorance and injustice. Again, these videos are going to be, the websites are going to be provided on the handout that I provide to everybody at the end, as well as this presentation with the direct links that you guys can look up after. As you can see, this is Daniel High School's some of the data analysis. Out of 2,043 students enrolled, 82.1% is socioeconomically disadvantaged. It's very high. 19.1% are English learners, and 6.3% a low population, but we do have students with disabilities. College preparedness shows the percentage of preparedness for each group, and only half of the students that are English learners and have disabilities are prepared for college. On the right, we have our suspension rates, and it shows that 11.3% of all of our students have been suspended at least once. Of those students, though, 18.4% are English learners, 12.8% are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and a high 29.9% are students with disabilities, which is the highest percentage of the student groups. So the data shows that our students with disabilities and our English language learners have the highest suspension rates and also the lowest college preparedness rates. I wanted to include these articles. They're how social and emotional learning anti-bullying programs are really effective in preventing and also addressing bullying issues. I'm going to provide these websites for you all on the handout that I will be giving to you, and again, they're going to be available on the PowerPoint presentation, and so you can directly click on the link and look them up afterwards. So here's again general bullying data. Shows that 1 in 5 high school students reported being bullied on school property in the last year. Nearly 14% of public schools report that bullying happens at least once a week. And reports of bullying are highest for middle schools, which is 20%, followed by high school at 16%, with a combined schools 12% and primary schools 9%. Reports of cyberbullying are highest for middle schools at 33%, followed by high schools at 30%, combined schools 20%, and primary schools 5%. Dinuba High School bullying data shows that students with disabilities are bullied at a rate of 2 to 3 times more than their non-disabled peers. The prevalence rates of bullying differ depending on the type of disabilities. So again, we don't have a very high population, but we do have students with disabilities. And again, it depending on the type of disability, with 35.3% of the students with behavioral issues and emotional disorders, 33.9% of students with autism, 24.3% of students with intellectual disabilities, 20.8 of students with health impairments, 19% of students with specific learning disabilities. And then also I wanted to include that children living in the lowest income households were at 20% greater risk of being bullied compared to those from the highest. So we do have a very high rate of, I believe, 82.1% that I mentioned before, of socioeconomically disadvantaged students in our school at the moment. Here we have our CASEL wheel. It shows what the CASEL framework is. Schools and districts and states, we use the CASEL's framework to foster knowledge, skills, and attitudes across 5 areas of social and emotional competence. They are listed here. The first one being self-awareness, and that's the ability to understand one's own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how they influence behavior across contexts. This can include capacities to recognize one's strengths and limitations with a well-grounded sense of confidence and purpose, and also include identifying cultural, identifying one's emotions, demonstrating honesty and integrity, linking feelings, values, and thoughts, and examining prejudices and biases. The next one, on the wheel is self-management, and it helps manage one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors effectively in different situations and to achieve goals and aspirations. This can include the capacity to delay gratification, manage stress, and feel motivation and agency to accomplish personal and collective goals. This includes managing one's emotions, also identifying and using stress management strategies, and exhibiting self-discipline and self-motivation. The next one on the list is social awareness. And this is the ability to understand the perspectives of and empathize with other students or with others, including those from diverse backgrounds, different cultures. It is a capacity to feel compassion for others, understand broader historical and social norms for behaviors in different settings, and also recognize family, school, and community resources and supports. It also includes demonstrating empathy and compassion, showing concern for the feelings of others, and understanding and expressing gratitude. The next one on the wheel is relationship skills, and this involves the abilities to establish and maintain healthy and supportive relationships, and to also effectively navigate settings with diverse individual groups. This includes the capacities to communicate clearly, listen actively, cooperate, work collaboratively, to problem solve and negotiate conflict constructively, navigate settings with differing social and cultural demands and opportunities, provide leadership, and seek or offer help when needed. This includes communicating effectively, developing positive relationships, demonstrating cultural competency, and also practicing teamwork, and also collaborative problem solving. The last one on the wheel is responsible decision making, and this includes the abilities to make caring and constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions across diverse situations. It includes the capacities to consider ethical standards and safety concerns, and to also evaluate the benefit and consequences of various actions for personal, social, and collective well-being. It also includes learning how to make reasoned judgment after analyzing information, data, and facts. So these 5 elements can be taught and applied at various developmental stages, from childhood to adulthood and to diverse cultural populations. A lot of school districts have used this to establish preschool to high school learning standards and competencies that articulate what students should know, and how to be able to do for academic success, school and community engagement, health and wellness, and eventually rewarding careers. So we came up with where we actually use a couple different methods for our data collection. And one method that has been very effective for us in collecting data on bullying in our school has been student surveys. These surveys are really important because they are key to identifying and measuring a number of factors, such as, the rates of bullying, student and staff attitudes towards bullying, the different types of bullying occurring, and also how to address them. They help schools determine how often it's happening and locations of bullying behavior. They can also indicate the effectiveness of current prevention and intervention efforts, which can help staff and select appropriate prevention and response strategies. By collecting this valuable information through surveys, schools can create an accurate picture of bullying in their specific environments. Bullying surveys help administrators and decision makers know what's going on. Adults can often underestimate the rates of bullying because kids rarely report it, and it often happens when teachers, adults, administrators aren't around. So assessing bullying through anonymous surveys can help provide a clear picture of what's going on. The target efforts understanding trends and types of bullying in our schools can help us plan bullying prevention and intervention efforts. And lastly, it helps measure results. So, the only way to know if our prevention and intervention efforts are working is to measure them over time. Some of the questions on this survey. This is a student survey. We have several surveys. We have one for staff, we have one for parents, and this one is for bullying. So some examples, some questions on here is, the first question is, what is your experience with name calling or verbal bullying at school during any school year? It says, I have experienced bullying, and then they can check frequently, sometimes, hardly ever, or never. I have witnessed bullying. Again, they can check frequently, sometimes, hardly ever, or never. Or I have carried out bullying. Another question is, how often has someone been threatened or verbally intimidated at school in the past months? How often have negative rumors, gossip, or secrets been told about someone at school in the past? Or during which grades or school years has physical bullying been the greatest problem? These are some examples of the questions on the student bullying survey. Another approach to anti-bullying is through empathy interviews. Shown is just one of the examples of a very simple yet effective empathy interview. These interviews are conversations we have with others to more deeply understand their thoughts and their feelings on a certain subject. Working to understand where a person is coming from is called empathy. One example of empathy. When conducting an empathy interview, you spend your time actively listening to that person, and you're asking clarifying questions if needed. Interviewers make sure to make the interview about the person that they're interviewing and not about themselves, about their feelings or thoughts. These interviews help students to appreciate their peers' emotional and physical needs, and they also help them to gain insight into the way others see, understand, and interact with the world around them. It also helps them to realize how lives are impacted within the context being investigated, and it also helps the interviewer find out what people mean rather than just what they say. So this is a very short and simple empathy interview, and the questions on there, it says, tell me about a time when you felt successful in school. Tell me about a time when school was hard for you. What do you wish your teacher knew about you, about how you feel at school? And what do you wish other students knew about how you feel at school? So with all of this, my colleagues and I, we came up with the Better Together Anti-Bullying Program. It's a collaborative program, and our goal is to reduce existing bullying problems, prevent new bullying problems, especially with the rise of technology and cyberbullying right now, and to achieve better peer relations and build a sense of community. The first thing we need to do is to create a coordinating committee that will consist of educational staff, parents, students, and community stakeholders. The committee will lead social change to address bullying by encouraging actions that promote kindness towards others, acceptance of differences, and inclusion of all, building up a social environment that discourages bullying behaviors. This committee will be meeting monthly to come up with ideas to promote preventative actions and how to recognize, report, and refuse bullying. The community will also ensure educational staff are being trained on bullying awareness and responsiveness. The second, we will ensure that yearly assessments are being provided to students to identify the different areas of bullying, such as prevalence, types, areas, and attitudes related to bullying. These assessments will be repeated annually to monitor the success of the Better Together program. And lastly, we will improve social competence by implementing social emotional learning in the classroom, increasing bullying awareness on school campus and in the community through parent and community outreach, offering weekly support groups that are aimed to help victims of bullying as well as bullies to help them cope with this type of school violence. Lastly, the program will partner with the community agencies to provide direct guidance to the coordinating committee and on-site support services on the school campus, which will include the crisis intervention team, individual counseling, group counseling, medication services, and victim witness services. So next is the cost, which is not very much, as you can see. We plan on getting the Better Together posters, which is $140, and also flyers advertising our support group at just $50, an estimated $50. And then for a monthly committee refreshments, about $100 a month. And any leftover money will go towards the next month, or if needed for any of the extra posters. And then we will be needing, as you can see, this is going to be our highest cost, and that's the social and emotional learning certification for teachers, which is $295 for each teacher. But again, this will be an investment in our school and for our students, and SEL will boost bullying prevention efforts because it fosters positive classroom norms that discourage bullying. Social and emotional learning teaches relationship skills, including peer support to protect against bullying. So with this improvement and with the added support the Better Together program provides, we will be able to decrease suspension rates and increase college preparedness. Our community partners are already on board to collaborate with Dinuba High School to implement the Better Together program and provide on-site support through individual therapy, group therapy, provide input in the implementation of the committee, and increase equitable access to quality resources within our community. So some of the ones that are already on board is the Valley Health Team. They offer mental health services to children and adults, and they also offer case management, crisis intervention, and medication services. Their offices are located here in Dinuba as well as Kingsburg. Valley Health Team accepts Medi-Cal and private insurance and offers a sliding fee scale, and self-referrals are accepted. Another stakeholder on board is the North County One Step Mobile Unit. It offers mental health services to children transitional age 16 to 25 years of age and adults with severe mental illness. It accepts Medi-Cal, private insurance, and offers a sliding fee scale as well. And self-referrals are also accepted. Another member is the Family Services of Tulare County. This provides holistic approach to serve families affected by domestic violence, serves inside community crisis response survivors support groups, offender services, individual counseling, and legal assistance. And also the Victim Witness Assistance Program. This provides a coordination of services and assistance with costs associated with being a victim of a crime. So a reflection on our experience as a team for this program, we were able to work really well together. The main problem we all faced was definitely our schedules, which up until this very day, it was really hard. Some people were on vacation. We had to work overtime, unscheduled, mandated overtime to be exact, along with, our family schedules, our kids. So that was really hard for us trying to schedule a meeting time to collaborate. Luckily, the group was able to meet on several occasions in person and on Zoom. We were able to determine and disperse what section each one of us would work on. Raquel did a very good job with the initial PowerPoint. She kind of put the shell together. We had a template to work with, and then Aliana did, she added the graphics and the titles. We all wrote presentation notes, and I added them to one script for everyone to use at the time of our presentation. So all three of us came together and we really worked together to make this presentation whole. It was a pretty smooth process after we were able to get together. So we didn't really have to change anything after the initial meeting, which was really great. But again, it went really smooth. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I will be here till the end of the meeting. You have my email address, which was provided on the handouts, and as well as my other contact information. Again, thanks for listening, and have a great night.